Alright everybody, it's me, Connor. It's another day, it's another Wilds update, and hey, wouldn't you know, it's another pretty good Wilds update. So this time, we got the Summer Festival showing up. We'll be talking about a little bit of the stuff that got brought along with that. And of course, the main attraction is the Arch Tempered Uth Duna, showing up a week before she was scheduled to, which is nice. And she, as well as Arch Tempered Raydao, and probably looking at like a 90% chance the other ATs when they get around here, are now going to be permanent fixtures instead of FOMO revolving event quests. Be nice if that whole process kind of just went away in general, but is what it is, and the most important, most interesting event quests are staying permanently on the roster, so pretty happy about that. And yeah, AT Uth Duna is sticking in the realm of Wilds ATs being pretty darn high quality. This is definitely the upgrade that she was looking for, and I'm pretty happy about it, because I like this monster a lot when the trailers were rolling out, and then, you know, you fought her in the base game, and thought, like, yeah, she's alright, and then you fight her a bunch of other times, and I think I'm probably in and amongst the general consensus that of the 4 regional apexes, her base form was the weakest. I think that's mostly where people lean. She's not horrible or anything, but, you know, a couple of weird hitboxes. The wave gimmick is kind of annoying, and there's just a lot of flopping spam, and she's kind of a giant punching bag. Yeah, you can hit kind of hard, but whatever. Now we got the new one to rock up, and a concern that I think a couple of other people had with the aftermath of Raydao is like, alright, everybody really seemed to like Arch Tempered Raydao, but is all that they're gonna be doing is just slapping a whole bunch of elemental bonus effects on basically everything for all the Arch Tempereds? Because, like, that's the big thing with Raydao, barring some slightly better combo extensions and a new attack or two. He gets the lightning aftershocks on a bunch of his attacks, so is it just gonna be like 2 waves instead of 1 for all of Uth Duna stuff? And no, not really. It's a pretty big damage hike. It is a significant health hike. It is much less duration between her attacks, so she has a far greater combo ability, as well as a couple of new physical moves, and the ability to thread her new attacks with her old attacks. And this just kinda, it's what I thought it was gonna be when we saw her in the trailer, is they're just like fattening her move kit out a little bit and programming her in a way that's more interesting, right? And that's pretty much what we got. So a couple of things. Again, with the Arch Tempereds, it's always kind of like, is that? No, I don't really. She has this new combo where she'll come trampling at you full speed ahead, and she'll whip around you from behind and come back at you with a claw combo. And she's also got this side dive body slam to kind of cover her flanks a little bit better. That trample, by the way, is terrifying, because she's just a massive Leviathan coming at you with a whole bunch of surface area. Then she'll follow through, she'll go all the way, turn relatively quickly, and then come back in and around behind you to hit you with the paw slams. And I believe that this is one of those moves where it's very intentionally designed to catch you on certain wake-ups and whatnot, because if you're going to be hit by the trample charge and you go for like an immediate get up, you're very likely getting hit with those paws and getting whacked, and that might just be death for how much damage that she can do. So there's a little bit of components like learning the fight. It's like, oh, okay, I got hit by the initial trample and I lived. I gotta stay down and let the combo bypass me so that I can actually get up safely, which I thought was kind of interesting. Another thing that I liked about her is that her waves are a little bit more interesting now that she just can interact with them more. So it was one of those things where, yeah, no, she has the big body slam and the wave comes out, right? And it pushes you around. Neat. Unless you go through it or over it or around it or whatever. But really, honestly, they were just kind of there to be there. It's like, oh yeah, it's a big weighty Leviathan making waves. Like, that's kind of neat. It's a little bit more interesting now because of how she can thread her attacks together much faster. So again, especially with that trample and any attack that's really kind of going forwards and kicking up the waves, is now she's kind of like redirecting you around and catching you around and kind of getting you in these little riptide effects where if you don't have a way out, she can kind of pincer you by maneuvering you around forcefully with the waves and then coming back at you in a point in time where your maneuverability is hampered by the effects of her waves. So now they're not just kind of like this thing that she does as a status effect of being big. It's much more factored into how she moves, because she kind of uses those currents to create setups for herself, at least in certain situations. But yeah, if you manage to get out of the way of the trample, the waves will still get kicked up. So you're probably going to the side anyway. So you are going in the direction of the wave catches you, and that's gonna like push you a little bit closer to her for her to come around on the roundabout and go for the follow-up on it. So she's kind of creating these opportunities for yourself if you don't have the tech to deal with the waves. I think that's really interesting. And I think I have to imagine that the developers were intentional about this, just for how consistently she can kind of hit these follow-ups and how consistently she can get the waves to push you into the places that she wants. And that's pretty interesting considering the fact that that wasn't the original design intention behind her. But I think they've paced out the combo structure and the specifics of the moves and how they anticipate you're going to interact off of them to create these really nice openings for her. And just from a combat design perspective there, I think that's particularly interesting. I do think that because of the sheer volume and size of her abilities now, I'd have to imagine that there's a couple of weapons that are going to struggle against this matchup. If you know anything about me, I'm going to pick the weapon matchup that I think works the best against the monster's moveset matchup. So that's just kind of my general strategy to this kind of thing. So what I'm rocking right now is hammer against her, specifically going for some evade skills. Still a set I kind of want to piece together, maybe touch around with Soregios bits for some extra stuff off of Adrenaline Rush, but using that kind of tether leap with some evade window and evade extender, I'm finding it's really fun to just zip through the waves so that I can kind of just creatively get around those currents that she's trying to dig up, and then I can maneuver around her and then get into these setups that I want. So playing hammer with some evade skills against AT Uth Duna is kind of like setup versus setup. So she's trying to use her waves to get me in a position that she wants, but at the same time, I want to try and use my tether abilities to try and duck and dive around those waves, bob and weave around them, get out of them, and then put her in a position where it's going to be easy for me to smack her in the head with the hammer. And that kind of little bit of mind games that I've been going into with this fight, especially going at it with the couple solo attempts I did after stream last night, was a lot of fun for me. I'm still nowhere near great at the fight, and I'm very unpracticed with hammer in this game. I feel like this might be my hammer practice fight, especially with the new offsets that it has and everything like that, and getting the timings, because she just has these gigantic, very telegraphed melee hits. So learning the hammer offsets and everything, and the bait and punish off of that, I think would probably be pretty fun, which I'm glad that she's going to be around permanently, because that means I don't have to sit around and wait for her to come back. I can just kind of keep cycling through this fight over and over again. I will also say, improvement over AT Radau is that none of the tempered wounds that you can open up on her are on really bad hit zones, so I'm not wasting a whole bunch of time just smacking off a Radau's back legs, which sucks for damage output, which I appreciate. At least against a hammer, she has good hit zones on all of her legs and her head and everything, which is great. In general, she seems to have part break thresholds and wound thresholds that are still, you need effort to get to them, but at the same time, they are more giving than, say, Tempered Soregios or especially Tempered Lagiacrus, which is interesting, because I've been praising a lot that the wounds have kind of just been backlogged into something that's very special to create an opportunity with, rather than something to just exploit into the ground. This one changes that track a little bit. There is some instances where you might be able to flinch lock her. I don't think you're ever going to be able to consistently flinch lock her for the entire battle unless you really, really know what you're doing with this fight, which again is kind of, where we want wounds to be. Is there a nice utility when you get them, not this kind of win button that you just get to continuously open and close them and open and close them over and over and over again. So kind of interesting that she seems to be a little bit more giving than the previous title update monsters, but at the same time, she is chunky enough, she's fast enough, she's durable enough, and her build-up is slow enough that this still isn't exploitable, which makes me kind of interested if they just wanted maybe Uth Duna specifically to have a little bit easier of a time to get through because of how just high damage and how tanky she is, or if they're still kind of course correcting and tweaking. I guess we'll just have to see with the next batch of content that drops exactly what they're going to want to be doing with this numerically, but I have had my eyes on how wound values, not like exact numbers, but just kind of like the general vibe of how they feel throughout the updates, because I think they've continuously just kind of been changing. I thought that was pretty interesting. And speaking of her being tanky, very, very massive health pool, which again, you contrast with the fact that you have some flinchability with the fact that the wounds are a little bit more giving than they have been for the last couple of update monsters. And at the same time, the Scarlet Forest, especially her pathing, offers a lot of environmental traps. You also have a Rathalos and a Mizutsune on the map for free to assist with turf wars and some free damage and stuff like that. So I feel like this is probably a quest where, you know, if you know where everything is and you know where all your terrain stuff is, you just have like a lot of features on there to kind of help you out, because she is a big monster that does a lot of damage and has a lot of health. She can last for a good long while. So I feel like there's a lot of design intention for this particular quest numerically to give you some good tools and advantages, because she is a particularly challenging monster without some advantages on your end. So I think this is a quest that was pretty well mathematically tuned as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, I'm a fan. The new attacks just kind of broadens out the move pool. The new combo structure is good. It makes the waves kind of work off of each other a little bit better. They work more to her advantage rather than just being a minor detriment. Because one thing I always kind of hate is I don't mind if a monster has a detrimental effect, but if the monster is just using it to kind of waste my time and isn't really doing anything with it and can't capitalize on it, well then I just feel like I'm being animation flinch and not really doing anything. So now AT Uth Duna has a much better ability to capitalize on her gimmick, which is great because that makes it feel like it's more of a fight. It makes it feel more threatening. It makes it feel like I actually want to interact and learn. And then again, I have a feeling that it's going to be tough for some matchups, but I have found my weapon that I think works really, really well. So I'm going to continuously enjoy the fight, and I would recommend anybody. A little bit of evasion hammer against her, I think, is a very, very fun matchup. If there's anything in particular, like if you're a main weapon runner or you're someone like me who kind of goes matchup by matchup, let me know what you enjoy fighting against her or how your weapon of choice fares against her. I know that some of the block weapons struggle a lot just because the chip damage is insane. So yeah, if you don't play it, dodge hammer. I like it quite a bit. Really, really fun fight for this matchup. Then there's talking about the gear. So the gear is... it's whelming. I think there are places for pieces. The full set is not much of anything. And we kind of knew it was going to be not much of anything because her built-in skill is not that great. It is some resistances and damage reductions when you have a mantle equipped. Now, mantles have been nerfed in Wilds compared to World Iceborne simply by the fact that you can only have one at a time minus the ghillie mantle. So you just have so much less uptime with them. So it's not really good to commit to a mantle build because even with tool specialist, you can really only have so much time with mantles. You know, in a World or an Iceborne, if you had full tool specialist and you're running certain mantles running a certain way, then you can kind of just keep them cycling with very, very little downtime. That's not the case here. And then her set is baked in with some stuff like tool specialist, some stuff like quick sheath, which we'll talk about, a little bit of agitator for some overall damage. There is earplugs, which, yeah, there's so many other ways to deal with roars. And then there's peak performance. Peak performance, I think with her set bonus, what the developers are kind of trying to nudge you towards is using, I think, that mending mantle. Because the mending mantle is about a minute, I believe, of just gradual health reconstitution. I'm going to be honest, I don't think I've ever even touched the thing. I don't use mantles a lot in this game, to be perfectly honest, which is fine with me. Evasion for the win, by the way. But I think what they're kind of going for is that you have the evasion mantle up so that it can heal you, but you also get the defense bonuses off of her set bonus, so you're taking less damage and then healing it back so that you get peak performance up a lot more. I guess you could also, you know, you have the evade mantle on, because with evade mantle, you're trying deliberately to not get hit, so then you get peak performance. But then what do you you need her set bonus for, because you're not getting hit, so why would you need the resistances and the damage reduction for? So I think that's kind of what they're going for, is better uptime on peak performance via the Mending Mantle and her ability. But like, I don't know, as much as I'm someone who likes making kind of weird builds, I think even at top level, peak performance can only give you a flat increase of about 20 raw. It's not even percentile. If it was multiplicative, then yeah, then we, I guess, have something to talk about. But just like, it's flat 20, maybe 25 at max level. I wouldn't, there's just better stuff than that already. Like, I don't really care about that. So I don't think her set bonus is going to be used for really anything. I think they kind of dropped the ball with that, unfortunately. Some of her pieces that have Tool Specialist, I think, have some degree of use on them, especially if you're using Corrupted or Evasion Mantle a whole bunch. And then she also has the same set bonus that you find with AT Raid-Out, where it's 2 parts to get you Guts. So what I could see is perhaps you get 1 piece of her armor, maybe the one that has some Tool Specialist and a couple of 3s on it, just for the good decos, and Tool Specialist, and then you go for like another 1 piece of AT Raid-Out, you get the Guts off, and then because you have that Tool Specialist stuff, maybe you go for, say, 2-piece Soregios bonus, so that you get some bonus levels off of Adrenaline Rush, then you can stack that off of the Evasion Mantle bonuses, and because you have Tool Specialist, you can get some extra uptime on the Evasion Mantle, maybe get it 2 or 3 procs per hunt, depending on how long it's taking. That's probably the best I could see with that aspect of her and the, like, mantle play part of her set. I think you can make something interesting there. I'd maybe want to experiment with that, of just using the Tool Specialist and the Deco slots to make the Evasion Mantle a little bit better, because I do like running it quite a bit. So I feel like 1 piece AT Ray, 2 piece Soregios, 1 piece AT Uth Duna, and then something else with some good damage slots. You could have something interesting there. I think that could be something pretty fun. And then the other thing is the leg piece. The leg piece is definitely the highlight of her armor set, that being, I believe, a point of Agitator, max level Quick Sheath, and a couple of Deco slots. I forget quite which one. I don't know if that one's the one with the 3 and the 2 1s. But max Quick Sheath pretty much for free on a leg piece is really nice for especially Longsword, just off of how the special sheath stance works, so you have that completely for free. Then there's a couple of other weapons where I don't know if you're necessarily going to want it. Maybe if you're running, I don't know, does anybody play Crit Draw Greatsword in this game? I don't know technically what like the meta level, Greatsword's super fun, but with how the offsets and the perfect guarding works, I don't know if anybody plays it like in a crit draw type of way. Maybe they do. I don't know. If you want to make Crit Draw Greatsword, then this probably works fine. But yeah, I think this is going to be stacked quite a bit on Longsword builds, and probably not a ton else. I mean, Quick Sheath is a nice little utility skill, and I think the decos are all right. And a point of Agitator is a point of Agitator. That's a good skill. So very good leg piece. I think you can make something interesting to play off of the Corrupted Mantle or the Evasion Mantle. If you want to use like a 1-piece bonus, you can use that 1 piece to get Guts off the Raid-Out stuff. So it's not like there's nothing there, but I don't think a ton of stuff is really getting shaken up. I think Longswords have a really, really nice armor piece, and maybe a couple of other niche builds, if you want to get experimental, are going to have something fun to play with. Which, you know, is a little bit disappointing that it's nothing too crazy. But I do like my experimental stuff, so I'll rock a couple of her pieces, maybe for a build or two. And then the layered armor, going for that full set, looks very, very nice. And then she also, with her tickets, you can get the max level charm for Tool Specialist, which just makes that even more convenient to get if that's something that you need. So, nothing tremendous, but some stuff that I think is worth playing with if you just want to play with it. You can make some interesting stuff out of it, especially if you're more of a theory crafter than a min-maxer. So that's the Uth Duna stuff, and then everything else is really just like the Gathering Hall and the festival. They're still rocking the festivals. They're great. They've knocked pretty much every one of these out of the park with like Whirl and Iceborne, and they're just putting in even more effort. I mean, the new hub looks fantastic with the giant Wrath Tiki torches and the different outfits and the new emotes and everything that are a lot of fun. The water guns, if you watch on stream, we were having a squirt gun fight on stream for about 15 to 20 minutes and then tried to fight a Chotacabra with it, which was a lot of fun. And interesting little deep cut, but if you look inside of the squirt guns, there's the Goku ducks from Frontier. They should put Frontier ducks in the squirt guns. I'm not going to conspiracy theory on anything, but yeah, there's little frontier ducks in the squirt guns. That's nuts. That's awesome. I think that's great. And then, yeah, the new Diva song is a new rendition of the Monster Hunter Tri-Credits, which was really cool to hear. That was awesome. The redone vocal tracks that they're doing through the Diva has been really, really cool. I love that they do that. All three of those tracks sound awesome. And it's just nice to hear the homages. And it's also nice that they're re-recordings and not just, doing the same song all over again. I mean, not that they've been afraid of re-recording a whole bunch of music at this point, but it's just nice. So, let's see. Other than that, I think that Fender collaboration is showing up towards the end of the month. That guitar should have been a hunting horn. It's just an emote who really cares. That stinks. Other than that, I don't think we're getting too much until, unfortunately, the end of September when we're going to be getting TU3 stuff. So it's going to be a little while before anything new shows up. Rip easy videos for me. But yeah, it's okay. I've got other stuff I can make. Yeah, no, great update. Really cool festival. Nice that the ATs are permanent. We have two really good ones. I think the Arch Tempereds are shaping up just in general to be some of the better forms of the high-powered super upgrade monsters. At this point, barring like some of the physical changes, the new Arch Tempereds are kind of just right along the line with the hardcores out of Frontier. It's just like faster, more aggressive, new moves, better combo potential versions of other monsters without really kind of any gimmick on top of that. It's just the previous monster, but stronger and more difficult. Now, if they wanted to be like go on like the full hardcore thing, take some of those lower level monsters and bump those up. Give, I don't know, the Arch Tempered Dosha, Bala, I don't know. It's not gonna happen, but it'd be fun. Yeah, I think that's everything I've got to say, so let me know how you guys have been enjoying yourselves. Thanks for listening and catching up and everything. Tell me how Uth Duna is treating you and how much you are enjoying or not enjoying, how your matchups are doing, anything you're building off of her new stuff, and I'll talk to you pretty soon. This has been CR-Volcanic or Connor. Bye-bye. Shout out to all the patrons and special shout out to Stromlin, Skyryu, Sir Newt Newt, Shaggy Grizzly, Sam Richley, Psychotic Gesture, P-Berry, Nihilus Kymrax, Ketz, Datboy Doing Da Ding, Certified Rajang Hater, Sir SS Jacob, Pecco Plush, I Think I Stole Your Sandwich, and Call Sign Shadow. Thank you very much, everyone.